Hello and welcome to Sage's Tabletop Table Talks. I'm Sage. This is my brand new tabletop, and I'm going to talk to you about TTRPGs. So this is my new cat. Actually, she's my old cat, but hi, Jelly. Um, Jelly, I'm trying to record, babe. Anyway. So this is my new house. I'm not sure if this is going to be my permanent spot of... She's trying to knock my camera over. I'm not sure if this is going to be my permanent spot of record. Oh, sorry. New house, new rules. So anyway, yes, I'm not sure if this is going to be my new spot permanently, but this is the spot I have cleared out at the moment to do my recording for my tabletop table talks. And I've been very unsporadically recording lately, so I decided I need to get something out this week. I'm not sure if I'll get something out next week or not. I got a lot to do. I got a lot of plans for next weekend, but I'll try. I'm going to try to get a tabletop table talks out. Anyway, so I decided to do something kind of simple, easy, that I think we could all kind of, or something that wouldn't require a lot of, like, research notes or a lot of, like, visual aids. And I want to talk to everybody about Tucker's Kobolds. So those of you who are in the D&D community know exactly what I'm talking about. And those of you who aren't, it's kind of a wild story. I do know there's people who listen who don't actually play D&D, which is cool. So, anyway, for those of you who don't know, so in Dungeons and Dragons, kobolds are like one of the weakest creatures you can find. They're little dog or lizard men, depending on the edition. And I mean, basically, they are meant to be just cannon fodder for players. Even low-level players can take out a kobold with relative ease. So, the story of Tucker's Kobolds and kind of what the implications mean for tabletop gaming groups. But it came from, and I'm almost certain it was first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This guy talked about how he had played at a table. I think the DM's name was Tucker. At a Jelly, honey, you gotta stop, okay? Come on. You're knocking my camera over here, babe. Played at a fort. He was in the military, and so that kind of explains some of what it is. But anyway, he's talking about playing with these guys. He was a mid-level character, and he said that they were going into a multi-floor dungeon. So the bottom floors had things like demons and like horrible transmutation magic and all this awful stuff in it that the players, were challenged. The party was between level 6 and 12 because this was first edition, and so having a group with like a level 6 character and level 12 character, and that was commonplace. Just even at the same experience level, a fighter would be like level 10 and a wizard would be like level 6 or 7. So, and if you died, you would come back as a weaker character. Like, that was just how the game was played back in those days. But anyway, you're being very annoying, Jelly. Come on. But anyway, so he said the players came, and they're like a relatively high-level party, and they were, I'm getting so distracted. My cat has been, very annoying at the moment. But, they were talking, they were a fairly high-level party, and they said the thing that scared them the most were these kobolds, and they had encountered them before. And the idea was that these low-level monsters would do things like they were in constant radio contact, and they set up ambushes, and they fired crossbow bolts from murder holes, and they... Jelly, I'm gonna put you in a murder hole. But like they were in like radio contact or magical radio contact or whatever, and they would lock the doors behind them and bombard them with in narrow corridors with Molotov cocktails and all this stuff. And so the idea would be that this mid to high level party were absolutely terrified of what are probably the weakest monsters in D&D. If not the weakest monsters in D&D, pretty close to it. They're in 3rd edition, their challenge rating was 1/6, meaning a level 1 character, a level 4 party, four level 1 characters should be able to fight 6 of them with almost no expenditure of resources. So yeah, they're weak. But by using these kind of crazy these actual military tactics, they turn them into a fearsome enemy, which is cool. I noticed some other people talked about it while I was actually trying to find the article to actually read it, and the article's 2 pages, super short. It's a little editorial, so there's not a lot of context that needs to be brought up. Like, I basically told you the whole story was that, and it's available online. Like the Wizard, it's from a Dungeon magazine or a Dragon magazine. Yeah, Dragon's the one that was like, it's from a Dragon magazine from way back in the day. I think it's number 126. So by all means, you can go read the article yourself and kind of see what I'm talking about. And I like that idea, the way it was portrayed in the article, where the idea was that it just was one particular moment of these weak creatures, these creatures that are meant to be super weak, being this absolute terrifying menace. In that way, I like what Tucker's Kobolds was. Unfortunately, people have taken Tucker's Kobolds as kind of like a universal thing that needs to be done all the time. And I like this guy. He was a good friend of mine. Best man at my wedding, actually. But he, for a while, had a bad Tucker's Kobolds habit. Where every enemy was using tactics. A lot, sometimes even beyond what they should use. So the problem with Tucker's Kobolds can easily be that it can make an extremely frustrating gaming experience. And the example I give, and it's one of the most frustrating encounters I'd ever had. Like the guy, he's actually a good DM. Great guy, you know. But this particular encounter was one that really stuck out as a nail one. So our party are fighting centaurs. So centaurs are large creatures, so they have these long, very large longbows. And these longbows have better reach than any of our weapons. So these centaurs just start hammering us with arrow fire, pinning us down. We are pinned down. We can't move. We can't do anything at the moment. They also are incredibly fast, meaning I think they have a natural speed of 50 feet per turn as a single move action. So we're going and we're trying our best to advance on them and do whatever we can. I'm trying to think what our party was. I was a cleric and I had a heavy crossbow. And I was the only one able to even attempt to make shots at the thing. We had a lizardman archer, a fighter. He was a fighter. Oh, shit, was he a ranger? He might have been a ranger. It doesn't matter, ranger or fighter, but he was specifically an archer. This was 3rd edition, by the way. 3.0, I'm pretty sure. We had a gnomish illusionist. We had a half-orc barbarian, a human rogue. Oh. There might have been 1 or 2 members of that party. We had another member, and I don't remember what he played. But anyway, since I had a heavy crossbow, I was the only one who even stood a chance of making shots at these things. But I'm at the very, very end of the range band, so I'm rolling at a -5 penalty, probably level 3 or 4. I'm basically just rolling a d20, and I'm like having to hit a 16 or 17 to hit these things on a 20-sided die. So I mean, we're talking a 1 in 4 chance of me even connecting with a hit. and I do heavy cross with 1d10 damage, and these enemies with like 50 hit points. So on average 5 damage, that means 10 hits to take one of them down. And they are just hammering us with arrow fire. It's like 1d10. They're doing like 1d10 damage, probably like 1d10 plus 2 damage. They're probably mighty bows, but 5 of them. So if I'm making a shot, but they're making a shot within maybe the second range band, -2 penalty. They're fighters. They have a natural higher attack rating than I do. So, I'm getting a 1 in 4 shot, but they're hitting every other hit. 1d10 damage. Like I said, our gnome was an illusionist. And so, like, he wasn't, like, throwing fireballs and lightning bolts or anything. The best we did was we set up an illusion to make us look like we were further away, that we were retreating, and trying to get them to enter our range band so we could launch a couple hits and maybe take one of them down. But yeah, we were all just like pinned, and like none of us are having fun because we're just pinned down. There's nothing we can do. We have no tools at our disposal to even do anything. We are just kind of like, dude, what's going on? Like, what are we supposed to do? This isn't funny. It's like, well, they're just using tactics. It's like, yeah, I get it, but like, it doesn't make for a fun game to just be pinned down like this, to just be, fucked over, basically. Like, nothing we could do. There just isn't anything we can do. And he eventually just kind of relented and let us approach him. And so, you were just really insistent on being in my video today. Which sucked because, like, it meant, like, he was upset because he just had to, like, give us this fight. But at the same time, there wasn't anything we were going to do. We couldn't do anything but lay there and maybe, pop our heads up and hope that their cover was enough that they would run out of arrows eventually. But, like, 20 arrows apiece. But they would have had more than that. He wouldn't have just given them 20 arrows apiece. And, yeah, so when you get too into Tucker's Kobolds, you can end up with a situation where your players are going to just be fucked. There's nothing you can do about it. And what it comes down to in that case is, so generally speaking, Dungeons and Dragons combat, Dungeons and Dragons, like I said, the argument that D&D isn't a combat game is a stupid one and just needs to be gotten rid of. You're just being unhelpful to what the game is. But the big thing is, as the DM, you have access to every bit of the player's resources. You know what their attacks are capable of, how accurate they are, how much damage they can do, what spells they have access to, what resources they have access to, what weapons, what auxiliary items they have access to. As a player, we don't know what's coming up unless you tell us. So we're going into this fight blind. As a DM, you can set your situation however you want. You can set up your monster however you want. Before the fight happens, give the monster whatever power, whatever ability, whatever skills, whatever accuracy you want to give them to incorporate a challenge. And you know what you have, because you know what we have because you're the one who gave us access to it. But as players, we can't do that. So we are assumed to, and it's kind of the problem you'll get a lot of times of, you get this problem wherein, as a player, we are assumed to have every contingency possible taken care of. And it's a little easier in 5th edition just because in 5th edition, characters are so much stronger and so much more versatile than they are in a lot of games. But even then, like, how do you prepare for every possible contingency? There's just no way of doing that. It can't be done. So as a DM, you have to consider what contingencies your players are capable of going up against, encountering. And I have played multiple times with DMs who treat combat like that. Like, well, why weren't you prepared for these guys with long-range bows? Because I'm also trying to prepare for enemies with illusion spells. And I'm also trying to prepare for undead enemies and enemies with save or suck spells, save or die spells. All this other stuff. Like, I can't prepare for every contingency, but you know what contingencies we have access to, and you as the DM shouldn't put us against situations that we just can't win. And like I said, that was the big issue. That's where Tucker's Kobolds can fail. However, I do think that Tucker's Kobolds can give us a lot of good as well. I think that using this idea of, these super weak monsters who all of a sudden are using weird tactics that you wouldn't normally see these monsters use, that are using weird tech or spells that you wouldn't normally see them use, can kind of throw the party for a loop. We see a cave full of kobolds, and oh, this is going to be an easy fight. This will be so easy. And then the kobolds are using these kind of hit and run tactics and booby traps, and all of a sudden, now the players have to be on edge, but you have to make sure that the players are capable of overcoming this obstacle. And that's one of the things with the Tucker's Kobolds articles. He talks about how like half the party had died at the end of the dungeon, and that was way more acceptable back in first edition than it is now, because first edition was designed with the idea that you would be attached to a world and not a character. But as anyone who knows anything about narrative can tell you, as much as we like Middle Earth, we are attached to Frodo and Bilbo and Gandalf and Aragorn. Middle Earth wouldn't be as interesting without these characters. That's why none of you fuckers have read this. And none of you fuckers have read the Silmarillion. A lot of you may not have even read the books, which is fine. Honestly, the books are long and kind of overwinded. But the world of Middle Earth wouldn't be as interesting without Gandalf and Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli, and Sauron, or even like worlds that are considered like great world-building worlds. Not really coming to mind, because again, we kind of attach ourselves to characters more than we do worlds. But yeah, so anyway, the idea that in Dungeons and Dragons you would get attached to the campaign world and not your characters, that's just not really how storytelling works. I'm not sure Gygax ever intended for it to be a storytelling game. I think he called it an adventure game, but it has become a storytelling game because that's generally speaking what fans wanted out of it. So it has evolved more and more into a storytelling game. But I think that if you're smart and kind of catch players off guard a little bit, you can use this idea of Tucker's Kobolds, of weak monsters playing a little bit against type in order to make themselves dangerous. You can kind of put your players on the back foot and force them to kind of reconsider the way they view the world and the way they interact with the world. A group of level 10, and 5th edition would be way harder just because of how powerful level 10 characters are, but you could still pull it off, I think. Well, a group of level 10 adventurers, all of a sudden they are pinned down by these kobolds in a murder, using murder holes to just pin them down with crossbow bolts. Now all of a sudden these players are kind of having to consider the tactics they're going to use against a target that can hit them, but they can't really hit back. Obviously there are things you can do like teleportation or, blowing, like clouds of fog, I'm not sure poison gas would really work that well, because it would have to like seep through the cracks, would fill your room in. But, spells or, things like mind control spell, if you had a line of sight, you could see one, hit him, force him to turn on his allies, kind of create a chaos among their ends so you could possibly move to a better location. If they had you locked in a door and they're, trying to set fire to the corridor you're in, you could use, magic spells to press it down. You can use characters' natural fire resistance. Like, okay, the part of the room's on fire, so the tiefling who has a fire resistance is going to try and push his way through to the other side so he can kick the door open. Or pick the lock or blow the door open even, so the other characters can try to rush through, or a wizard can try to burn up a powerful ice spell to put out the fire, but that would mean he would have to burn up a moderately leveled spell. So now players are gonna have to like see this fire approaching them and start thinking tactically about it, where they walked in thinking this was going to be a cakewalk. So yeah, done well. I think Tucker's Kobolds is an interesting idea. But one of the things to consider is the gaming culture among D&D isn't the same in 5th edition as it was in 1st edition. And I know there's a lot of people out there who kind of miss that very fatal, very hard knock style of those older editions. And there's plenty of games out there for you guys to try. Dungeon Crawl Classic is a great retro clone. Very, very well done, other than the fact that it uses a stupid fucking D30. So don't play, actually, no, never mind. Don't play fucking Dungeon Crawl Classic. Fuck games that use D30s. D30s are stupid. But, there's White Box, and there's Labyrinth Lord. Shit, is that the other one that uses the D30? Anyway, there's fucking advanced Dungeons and Dragons 1st edition. I bet you can find some PDFs of them online if that's really what you want to play. I mean, I've got fucking 2nd edition books. I got in a secondhand store, so like if I wanted to, I could play 2nd edition. I have a copy of DCC too. That's not the kind of games I prefer to play personally. I kind of do prefer kind of more epic storytelling games than like kind of hard Scrabble games, but it's entirely a preference thing. And Jelly's back. I'm just gonna have to give you a featuring credit, aren't I, sweetheart? But yeah, anyway, that's the story of Tucker's Kobolds, and the good and bad it came from it. Yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. I'm not sure if it'll be next week or the week after, but I will see you guys soon. And if you got any D&D content, tabletop role-playing game content you want me to cover, I'd happy to list it in the comments. If it's something that would take a full video, but if it's just something that I can respond in a single comment, I will. Yes, Jelly, you're ferocious. I know. You're the ferocious kitty, huh? But anyway, yep, I will see you guys next time.